Hi, Ashley. Just a quick video explaining the things that you would like to clarify, and I'll just explain that here. So, first one, buy land of Mr. and Mrs. Jones with the intention to develop. Mr. and Mrs. Jones are not developer, that's okay. Right in the contract, margin scheme apply, yes. So, you will need to check this with your accountant, but 99% sure that you can write margin scheme applies. And what that basically means is that these people have not yet developed before. So if they've added any value or they've done the development, then you can't apply the margin scheme to it. But if they haven't, which is 99% of the case when you pick up any second-hand or an already established house, then this would 100% apply. Develop and sell these townhouses, okay? And then margin scheme applies, GST on sales, correct. That's how it is calculated. So this is basically sales minus land value divided by 11. So that is the GST formula here. The second one is submit DA for 3 townhouses. DA is rejected. Sell property without further development. Margin scheme apply. Now this margin scheme is related here to the origin. So if no DA has been achieved, or even if DA was achieved, it doesn't matter as long as you have not made any structural changes. So structural is the main this thing. If you demolish it and you start building it, then all these things will start kicking in. But if no structural change has been achieved and you have got a DA and everything, that means you've added value. And then if you want to sell it, even if it's your PPR, then all those things should be fine. So we've got margin scheme applies. So in this case, no, because this is still, I assume, in this section, it is still an old house. You haven't done anything. So it won't apply. So sell to another developer. Next developer can't apply margin scheme but can claim GST paid on input credit. Yes, they can, but they can't apply margin scheme if this would have been developed in some way or form. If this is just a paperwork, like you've just got a permit or a DA on it, and no structural changes have been made, there is no problem. They can still apply the margin scheme to it. So there's no problem with that. So let's look at what's the next section here. Let's scroll that up a little bit. So in here we have next one is okay, don't write in contract margin scheme applies. Development sell 3 townhouses, GST payable on entire GRV. Yes. So make sure that when you are buying with the intention to develop, make sure you put margin scheme applies on it. Submit DA for 3 townhouses, DA rejected. Sell property without further development. That's okay. GST payable on entire site? No, not really. If this is a residential site and you haven't really done anything, you applied for a DA but never got it, and then you sold it, can't apply margin scheme. No, they can apply margin scheme because you haven't really done anything to the site. Again, structural changes. As long as that doesn't happen, it won't be an issue. Buy land. So what they are trying to do is, if you do the development, you are allowed to add the margin scheme on something for adding value once. So if you buy something and it had nothing on it, an old house, and then you do the development and then you sell everything, then you can claim the margin scheme so that you are only liable to pay GST on the new value that you have added to the site. And that is all that matters. That's what they are trying to do with this GST. But once somebody has already claimed that before you were there, then that margin scheme can't be applied again. So okay, so buy land off land developer. Okay, develop and sell 3 townhouses. Get invoice for GST paid. So if you buy this land from a land developer who has subdivided the land, you need to check when they are selling, does that include GST? If it includes GST in it, then you will just claim the GST and there will be no margin scheme applied there, because you will claim the GST on the entire amount, because that then becomes your input. Land is your input over here. So somebody sold you the land for, let's say, 400K. That is your land input. If that 400K includes GST, that means it will be specific on your contract. If that includes GST, then that just simply becomes your input. So there is no margin scheme applicable here, because somebody who's selling you stuff already includes GST in it. And then you can claim that because that is your cost. Excuse me. Get involved, GST paid by developer, claim GST paid by credit, pay GST on GRV. Correct. So it's the same. You claim your GST on cost, and purchase of land is a cost. And if this guy has already charged you the GST here, then you can claim all that GST. That 400K divided by 11, you'll claim all of it upfront. So you'll get it upfront. And then when you sell like 4 townhouses or whatever, then you'll be collecting GST on all of it, and then you basically offset it. I have seen that the margin scheme and everything basically saves you about 3% overall between this exercise and that is pretty much it. That's all it actually saves you. But on a bigger development, that's a lot. Submit DA for 3 townhouses, DA rejected. Once it is rejected, it doesn't matter. That means you can't, if you bought land of somebody, that means if this is a newly developed estate, chances are that you will not be able to put DA on it. Because if there is a new land subdivision that's being cut out, the block size will already be the smallest possible. So there will be you won't be in a position to further subdivide it. So this one won't apply. But if the concept is the same, someone is selling you a new product, a newly developed product, or a newly subdivided piece of land that includes GST in it, then you are allowed to claim that GST, all of it, and then there is no margin scheme applied there. So margin scheme is only applicable to already established infill development properties where it is sitting, and only applicable on the residential buildings and no other. I hope this clarifies. And yeah, I might be able to put this in the new community as well.